Welcome everybody to the God of War 20th Anniversary Cast Panel. It is, as Jeff said, I'm Matt Sophis. I'm narrative director at Santa Monica Studio. I should get my glasses out because I'm going to need them. Basically my job today is really just to kind of string a bunch of words together and hope that this amazingly talented group of people can basically, make it sound profound, which is kind of the formula that I've gone with for the last 10 years. Let me go ahead and bring them out. First person I want to bring out, he is the smartest man alive. And a little secret, he's also one of the kindest. As Mimir, Alistair Duncan. Next up, our Witch of the Woods, our Queen of the Valkyries, our goddess, Freya. The amazing Danielle Bisutti. Yeah. Okay. Now, the next person, he's nearly 20, but he will always be boy to me. And yes, he is getting way too damn tall. As Atreus, Sonny Suljic. So the next guy probably needs no introduction, but I'm going to anyway. He is our Norse god of war, and he is just one of the best guys. His character is someone who, I am beard envious of. So, as Kratos, Christopher Judge. This one, over here. All right, the next man, without his incredible work, we would not have made it for 20 years. He is the OG Kratos, T.C. Carson. Next up, the goddess of wisdom herself, and also a little bit the goddess of manipulation. The divine voice behind Athena, Carol Rougier. Now, coming up next is one of the illustrious Huldra brothers, our favorite Azure Vulgarian, and let's all just show some effing gratitude for Brock Robert Craighead. And finally, the other half of the Huldra brothers. He is the very, very clean and very, very nice, as Sindri, Adam Harrington. Since this is a celebration not only for our franchise, but also for all the fans who've supported us for 20 years across 9 games. I just wanted to ask anybody who wants to chime in, does anyone have a memorable moment with a fan that they want to share? Like an experience either online or in person at cons, things like that?
So I went to a con, and this guy came up on the Friday, and he was bald-headed, and I had my head shaved at the time. I talked to him, and the next day I'm sitting there, and he reappears, only this time he's wearing a black bin bag up to his neck. He's got runes in ink all over, in ballpoint pen all over his head, and he had 2 horns made from popsicle sticks sticking up. And he sat there, I think, with me for about an hour while I signed things, and I think people thought that he was, my pet or something. That was one of my favorites.
A real-life Mimir.
A real-life Mimir.
Some of the Freya cosplay, which you have all probably seen on Instagram and Twitter, has been amazing. The fan art is incredible. Maybe the last con that I did, when one of the fans asked when there was going to be a Freya game, I liked that. But alas, just the love and the adoration, and there's a real there's just a real mutual kinship between us, the actors who got to the pleasure and the honor of playing these characters, and the fans who really adore them. So I can't really choose one.
I'd agree with Freya or Danielle.
Freya's my little one.
Yeah, probably at the cons. I mean, I get to meet a bunch of great people. Probably say one thing on the top of my head was someone knew I liked Takis, and they brought me Takis to the Comic-Con. And so I was just snacking on them the whole time, so it kind of was good.
That's one of your most memorable moments.
Snacks.
Dad.
There's been so many that, but I've kind of just classified them into when dads and sons come up and they say that the North Saga changed their relationship, improved their relationship, started their relationship. Those are always my favorites. There's just so many where you see these kind of real rough dudes and their kids who may or may not look like them. No, but I mean, they're the fathers, but they don't, they're just not so rough, they're whatever. And it was the Norse games that kind of was the genesis of their relationships. And so for me, those are always the best.
Right.
Are we going down the line?
Only if you want. We can go to another question. Conveniently, I think the best place to start on the next questions is right at the beginning with you, TC.
Oh, shit.
So,
damn.
So, you be careful what you wish for.
I know, right? Why does your voice seem especially deep today?
So, there's this thing that happened. No, don't touch me. I'm working, leave me alone.
I don't know what kind of audio you guys are getting, but the stereo for me is incredible. So your portrayal of Kratos kind of defined the character for an entire generation of gamers and created a video game icon. How did you find, speaking of voices, how did you find his voice? And when did you realize God of War was going to become such a big and lasting franchise?
I'm going to answer your last question first. I realized that last month when I came to Sony.
Oh.
I had no idea that the game was what it was. I know I enjoyed my work on the game, but I didn't realize the game had such a wide reach, even doing the Comic-Cons that I do. It's kind of humbling to see something be a part of something that has affected so many people. And I forgot what the question was.
Just how'd you find that voice?
How'd I find the voice? Kratos is. Oh, well, I'm gonna really say this shit. Okay.
Yeah, do it.
Okay.
I think they're hoping you do.
Kratos is TC 12.0. At the time, I was very angry. There were a lot of things going on that had me in a real nasty place. And Kratos allowed me to do that. He allowed me to be able to vent all of that anger. He allowed me to be able to vent all of that rage. And I think that's the thing that people resonate with because it was real. Those were real moments for me to be able to do that and be able to get that out. So it was like going to therapy, really, because I would always leave the session be like, I think it was just the rage inside of me is that voice.
That's fantastic. All right. Next, Kratos. So you have been involved in lots of different projects over the years, film, long-standing television franchise, other video games. How does working with the team at Santa Monica Studio on a character like Kratos differ from the other teams and projects you've been a part of over the years?
Well, it was interesting for me because I'd done like fairly significant amount of other stuff, and there's always a certain dynamic on set. There's number one. Well, first is the producer's director, and number one, who is sometimes one of the producers. There's the cast. I would say writers, but no writers ever came to set in live action, which is the truth. And then the crew. And almost from day one, there was none of that. There was no hierarchy. There was everyone treating each other with respect and talked to each other like adults and respected the work that every individual was doing. So when it came time to shoot, people would come up to Corey and have different ideas and he listened to them. And I was just watching like, he's listening to everybody. Like he's not looking at his watch or, whoever's in charge of keeping time is not going. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. And I realized that I much like TC, I got this right when I was going through the same things that Kratos was. I had just quit drinking. I had just gotten two DUIs. And I want to be very honest about that in case anyone else is going through that. And I was going through counseling. And we had just started touching on what it is to be a man. And through that, I learned that it's not about squashing people, keeping people down. It's about empowering people. And it is about listening to people and making them feel heard. The God of War set, the volume, was the first time I ever saw it in practice. Every morning, it looked like everybody wanted to be there, which was something really weird for me. There was no one complaining. People were happy to be there. And it was such a collective that it really was the first place that I had ever been that was that supportive and nurturing and caring and loving. And it really changed my whole perspective on the world and what it really means to be a man. And that really happened out of war.
Love that. That's great. Now, Sonny, you did not have all the experience in the world coming onto set the first time. You started playing Atreus when you were 8, I think it was 8?
Yeah.
That was when I met you anyway. So you've said in the past that you didn't always understand what was going on when you were younger, when you were on set. Now, how has that changed as you've kind of grown up alongside the character?
Well, first, I think I've had a good opportunity to work with such incredible people. I feel like I've learned a lot from Chris, Danielle, everyone on set. And I feel like while the character was growing up, I was just growing up with the character as well. Wait, what was the question again? Because I just heard Chris's speech and I was like, all right, I'm gonna start getting deep now.
The answer's no.
No, just how has it changed? How has like your view of it over the course of making the 2 games? How did it change from over time?
I mean, there was definitely a big contrast between the first one and the second one. I think I've had enough time to kind of like analyze more emotions, more feelings. And I feel like as an actor, when you're younger, you're kind of just, or at least like from my point, I was invested in the game, but I wasn't like psychologically there. So I think for the second game, Ragnarok, I got to like dive in to more of, deeper emotions, even the scenes with Frenmir and stuff. And I just felt more connected with the character. So I think over time, I got to get more comfortable and stuff. Yeah.
Great.
2018, it was hard to keep his attention for 30 seconds.
True.
So for Ragnarok, first of all, he knew all his lines. No, I mean, because he was older and more mature, but then he came with notes. Like, I was thinking, and we all literally went, So it's been great just to see the maturation process. You turned into a wonderful young man.
Thank you.
One of my favorite moments after that was when that happened. Chris came over and he said, "He's a whole new motherfucker." So, Carol,
yes,
you had a totally different experience with Athena.
yes,
In that a decade had passed since you played her in God of War 2, and then was called back into the booth to reprise the role for God of War 2018. What was it like getting that call to come back to a role you hadn't played in so long? Did you have to prepare for it differently? What was that all like?
no. I had 3 lines and I was very upset because I did them in different accents because I didn't want to leave. I love these guys so much. I did it from South London, North London, and, ancient Greece. So, it just felt part of my life anyway. And also, I think I mentioned to you, my experience of working on the game was very different to everybody else's because I worked alone. I worked alone in the booth. I never saw anybody else. I never saw a whole script. I just saw my pages and the guys behind the glass who would go quiet sometimes and you think, oh my God, they hate me. But yeah, so it was just a different experience. So coming back to that, because it was such a memorable, strong character, I think I just loved just jumping back in. And I found there was a lot of similarities with her and me. So I was very fortunate to be asked to play her in the first place. So it's still part of my life. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Head. No, Alex. So you had the unenviable task of being thrown the most amount of information to convey for players, the most ridiculously difficult Norse words to pronounce. But you were always able to make it sound really natural. How did you prepare for that and approach delivering all the stories? And then if you could ask Mimir and advice on a topic, what would you ask?
Ooh, we come to that last. How did I prepare? I knew that you were a sadistic bastard. Yeah. Going to throw horrible, horrible things at me to say. So basically, I came in and would look at this stuff and go, okay, I'm going to say it. And in fact, the interesting thing was, the first time I would say one of these words, I would get it right. But then later on, when it came back again, I'd have forgotten what the pronunciation was. So it would just all fall apart. So it was just repetition and sort of understanding whatever it was I was trying to say. There was no way of preparing for it because I never knew what consonants and vowels were going to follow each other. You just tied them together however you felt. I think it was like, oh, this is going to mess with him. What was the other part?
If you could ask Mimir for advice.
If I could ask Mimir for advice. You see, I actually feel that my journey has been very similar to his, because I always used to think I was the smartest man in the room, and I wasn't. And I caused a lot of mayhem and problems by doing that, by trying to persuade people or tell people, what they should do. And I think that actually, rather than what I would ask him, what I recognize, that same as with Chris, that the journey that Mimir was on has been the journey that I've been on in my life, which is to stop telling people what to do and just experience the moment and let them. I think that the journey was. He starts off, he's trying to change the world. He's trying to control everything. And the best thing he ever does is to help this man and his son connect. And that's better. Me connecting with people is far better than me ever giving people advice. Connecting with my family, my daughters. That's what I would say to him. Hey, well done. And thanks for helping me do it too.
So one of the things that we've been incredibly grateful for as writers on God of War across all of the spectrum is how much of themselves all these wonderful people are willing to put into it. Danielle in particular, you went so deep on Freya and couldn't be more grateful. And her journey is one that's filled with lots of complex emotions, difficult choices. Can you talk a little bit about your approach there? And then I'm going to give you the opposite. If Danielle could give Freya some advice.
Wow, where to begin on that? I didn't find her right away. Because I didn't know what video game I was auditioning for. I think if anyone has ever heard any of these interviews, I didn't realize until I was standing in front of the oil painting of the Greek Kratos where I actually had booked God of War, the video game. And so I never took any notes. You could ask Chris. There were no notes on my script, which is a complete lie. No, I the second I found out that it was Freya and Norse mythology, I just got on Wikipedia and every website I could, learn about Norse, learn about Freya. I watched scenes, the cut scenes from the previous games, really very sexy scenes, actually, TC. I was a little nervous about it, too, because I was like, am I going to have to bear more than my soul for this video game? I don't know. I'll have to talk to HR about that. But I knew this. Freya is the goddess of all things except wisdom, okay, which actually kind of comes back to bite her in the butt because she leads very much with her heart. And so when I was doing all of this study and I knew she used to be the Queen of the Valkyrie, I'm thinking queen, I'm thinking very regal, and I think I didn't really have an affectation to my voice, but she was a little poised, and this was back in the 2018 game, and Corey, and Matt and Rich were kind of like, she's actually lost everything. She's maybe a little more cavalier, a little more devil-may-care, and I didn't quite find it until one night I had a dream of Han Solo, and it's, stay with me on this, it's very strange because Corey said to me, she's kind of cavalier, like Han Solo, and he knew that I grew up watching Star Wars, the big Star Wars family, and so I was like, yeah, Han Solo, like he doesn't give two fucks, you know what I mean? Like he just has this sort of like he's out there with the Millennium Falcon and he's doing his thing, and he came to me in a dream. It was not as sexy as the previous God of Wars, I will tell you that. Unfortunately, because that was my one shot with Han. But there was something about his swagger, you know, and I swear to you, I really do believe that what I think makes an actor come alive in their character is this embodiment, right? And that really means your body. I swear to you, I came in the next day on set and I felt it, I felt her in my body. And I think the voice changed, the mannerism changed. And from there on, Freya got to grow, but she finally got grounded, I believe, in that moment. And then, of course, all of the incredible writing. I don't have to tell you guys the words we got to say, the characters we got to embody, and Freya's journey from a shell of who she was to complete vengeance, all the way to forgiveness, and every emotion you could possibly imagine in our human experience in between was the biggest gift in my life as an actress. Don't make me cry, you guys. I'm just looking at Eric. I'm not gonna look at him, but it really. It really was the greatest gift. And much like Alistair and Chris have shared and Sunny, my life had mirrored Freya in such a symbiotic way. And it really was a gift. And as TC had mentioned, it felt like therapy because there were things that were stripped away. And we've all experienced that in our life. So it was readily available. All the emotion, everything I could just pull out was already there. And then come to Ragnarok when she gets her wings back, and what a powerful moment, you know, to find oneself again. But the only way to get there was through taking responsibility for one's choices, which is, wow. Do you remember how much I cried that day?
Oh, yeah.
I was so excited. I said, people are learning how to become better through a video game, and it was just blowing my mind. Eric was instrumental in that game to help me find the simplicity and strength of Freya, because I had sort of had this sort of broken down, beaten down version that I had been carrying with me. And so that was an incredible relationship and development there. And it has been by far the greatest role and the greatest gift of my life. So there's that. And then what advice I would give her? I would commend her on her big heart. I would tell her, I see all that you have. I see all that you sacrificed. And then I would encourage her to trust her gut. I think with leading with her heart and sometimes her impulsive nature, her overbearing, wanting to protect her son so much, brokering the marriage, wanting to fix it, she probably didn't take time to listen to that quiet, still voice that one can listen to when one gets quiet, that probably would have told her, not a good idea. However, it's the journey she was meant to go on. And so when she finally takes responsibility and finally forgives in the end and realizes she doesn't need to crush him forever to have wholeness, I would say that's it right there, Freya. Take that with you now forever as you begin to repair your life and the realms with your new best friend, Kratos.
So all of the characters portrayed by these wonderful actors went through some pretty big transformations over the course of their games, but possibly none more so than our dwarven blacksmiths over there. Robert, Adam, can you talk a little bit about the contrast between your first days joining as the shopkeepers, and where your portrayal ultimately went? Robert, go.
Brock was a loudmouth, crass, vulgar,
all of those.
Comic relief kind of guy. And then in Ragnarok, became, you saw more of his sympathetic side and found more of his love for his brother. And you became more sympathetic towards his character. And that's what I tried to bring out in the second one more.
Where'd the voice and the waddle come from?
The voice?
And then the way he waddled.
Well,
yeah.
the voice, when you guys first talked to me about the voice, you know, he's, you know, a Viking type voice, a Norse character originally. And as far as the waddle, that's what I would imagine a guy who's kind of little impaired on leg length. Wait, is that politically correct? No, it's not.
No, you did.
Well, I'm not that tall myself, but
It's perfect. The second you said it, it comes to your mind. You're like, that's exactly how it would look.
yeah. All right. There you go. One day they had me come in just to film me running because the artist couldn't capture Brock running. And so that's all I came in for the day was to run across the stage. You know, Brock running. Okay, that's a wrap. Thank you, Robert. I'm like going, that was easy money. Yeah. You guys don't want some more? I'll come back tomorrow. I'll be here all week if you need to.
Oh, Lord.
Sindri certainly went through a lot.
Oh my God. I never would have. No. Yeah. But so before we started the second game, Eric and Matt took me to lunch and walked me through the second game. And I think I told you afterwards, after I was nauseous, kind of terrified because I really wanted to pull it off. But the changes from the first to second game, so I always figured, you know, Brock and Sindri have the seal that's broken and then join. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be kind of funny if between them they make up a whole person? Maybe in the beginning. Brock gets all the traits, especially guys, want to have. Gruff, they swear, nothing bothers them, they're cool. So I thought, well, then Sindri has all the traits that we all have that we're embarrassed about and we don't want people to find out. Sensitivity, neurotic, higher voice. Not a proud way of carrying himself and, you know, timid. And then in the second game, the transformation, which we had talked about and Eric had talked about, was taking on some of Brock's body language. And the shoulders going back and the walk changing and the voice dropping and all that stuff. And then as far as the emotional stuff, I mean, you guys were extraordinary and Chris was extraordinary. Because on the days we shot the really heavy stuff, one, it was very easy to be upset about the idea of this guy passing away. But you guys were really, really, really supportive about it. And I remember everybody was there when we shot it. And it was just a really, you know how sometimes you just need space? You don't really need anyone in your face. And they just kind of quietly just let it happen. And what's been so wonderful about what's happened after the game is me going to where I needed to go. The number of people that came up to me and said, you feeling that let me feel the loss of so-and-so. Or that reminded me when I lost somebody, and that meant a lot to me. And I just, kind of what Danielle was saying, I just think it's extraordinary to work on a video game with a message of such love to it and becoming better people and stronger. So, I'm sorry, what was the question?
I think you got it.
Thank you, man.
Here's the little tidbit you're doing. I've known Adam since 1997. We met on the pilot of Stargate.
On Stargate.
Oh,
wow.
Yeah. I got to go through the Stargate. It's just a plastic ring.
So I think, well, we're kind of over, but I'm going to ask one more question. And this one's for any of you who want to chime in, and this is entirely self-aggrandizing. Are there any particular scenes or lines from any of the games that resonated with you on a personal level?
Just 2 words, Zeus and Athena. Those 2 words, being able to scream those and yell those. You'd be surprised at how many people come up. I'm sorry, let me take this off. How many young men come up and they just scream that at me. They stand there and they just scream it. I'm like, oh, it's good. You want me to sign this? We good? Okay. Yeah, that's it.
That's awesome.
Those 2.
From 2018, kind of the same thing with Boy. Anywhere, airports, church.
Yeah. Yeah.
The pastor just yelled, "Boy!" And then with Ragnarok, there were so many catchphrases. The obvious one for me was, and I actually called you when I read it, "Death can have me when it hurts me."
Yeah.
The one that touched me the most was the scene with Thor, and Kratos says, "We must be better. We must be better for our children." And that destroyed me. That's what both games boil down to for me. It's just so simple that we must be better for our children. Before this game, I wasn't really sure of a lot of things about me. Because going through therapy is, whoever's going through it is about tearing away a lot of stuff. And the only thing I was left with was, I hope that I was an okay dad. So when I talk about 2018 being a love letter to my kids, and my 3 older children and my daughter-in-law are here, it truly was. And being sober, I wanted to apologize to my children, because even when I was there, sometimes it'd be through the haze of a hangover, or I wasn't 100% present. And it was so much just a love letter and apology to my children. And the second one was difficult, more difficult, because that was accepting that I was an okay person. Kratos accepting that he was an okay person. And I'll never forget, the toughest scene was looking at that last triptych. And God bless Eric Williams. I literally just broke. I broke as Kratos, I broke as me. Just the idea of, after all that you've done, the people accept you and love you, and you can love them back. I just went and I couldn't get it back. And Eric and Matt come up to me, and Matt is so very supportive. Eric and I, you would never guess, but we internally are very similar. We have sort of similar upbringings. And Eric says to me, "That was great. Now, can you give us one we can use?"
Thank you all for joining us for the panel and sharing with all these wonderful people bits of yourself. Really appreciate it. Thank you, everybody.